welcome all to a very special episode of Total War Friday. This is Total War Saga Thrones of Britannia. I think I just did like a single trailer watch on this game, kind of back when it was first announced. And since then, it's been pretty quiet as far as the ZeroHp has been on it. I've just been kind of biding my time. There hasn't been as much excitement for this title compared to previous Total War titles. This is going to be an incredibly early first impressions video. Things I've noticed that might interest you if you're a fan of the Total War series. And also addressing ideas or preconceptions that I had about this prior to its launch based on videos and articles and blogs and things of that nature. Let's address those preconceptions. One thing that I felt, and I think a large part of the Total War community felt, was that this just looks a lot like Attila. Maybe too much like Attila to be charging $40. Interface-wise, yeah, it's pretty similar. However, the team has made so many significant changes to the campaign. It really, so far, has not felt at all like Attila on the campaign map. While there are, of course, similar things, most of the similarities that are shared between this and Attila are similarities that are shared between pretty much every Total War. And I think people need to be careful about their expectations, since, hell, the original Rome Total War and this still have a lot of things in common, because that's what we're coming here for, right? So it's kind of a struggle back and forth, if you will, between what we want, new things that we're hoping, and projecting that onto a game that has never promised that. So that's kind of been my tact here to prevent myself from being maybe biased towards this. Now, on the opposite end of that bias, the positive end of the bias, I've been really wanting a historical title. I love Warhammer. I think the Warhammer games are probably the best battles that the series has to offer because of all the different unit variety and the different strategies. It's just, there's so much more to think about on that end. However, I miss the historical titles' similar problems that presented to the player. So in a good way, kind of the problem-solving skills required on the battlefield in Warhammer are required on the campaign map. So it's kind of, what are you more into? I think we're all here because we love the battles, and we'll get into that. But here, the campaign map has really been overhauled, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So let me show you how some of this stuff works. You can see if I click on any town, it lights up several of them in blue. And this is because you have, somewhat inspired by Empire or Napoleon, many of your towns are actually outside of your primary settlements. So you have farms, mines, churches, orchards, trade docks, all kinds of stuff throughout your whole territory. And that makes it, more realistic, but also more strategic. As you move into enemy territory, you can take certain things from them. You can take their farms, you can take their mines, take their resources, whittle them down, and then surround the capital city and then go in for that awesome siege battle. And yes, the siege battles are really great in this game. So far, I've really enjoyed how that works. So I can click on Wintoncester here, aka Winchester today, and what you can see here is it highlights these 4 or 5 villages, and then down here are the corresponding, so they're minor settlements. You can see which ones are Wint. So there's Portchester, here's Witt down here, here's Stuthampton right here, Southampton. Sorry if I mispronounced some of these basically ancient names now, but you can, and each one is kind of already pre-specified, so it doesn't make you don't have to make all of those choices. It's not as overwhelming as this looks or first appears when you load up the game, especially if you play as Wessex. It already has kind of a large kingdom. It just makes management a lot easier, and I also like the strategic layer that it adds on as far as war goes. We are seeing some influences from Charlemagne here as well. We have the war fervor back, which I think was a fun way to to inspire you to push for peace if you can, and also for war. Sometimes both of them can benefit you. It just depends on timing and the context of where you are in your campaign. As this goes down, it affects all of these, as you can see, all these different things. So you got battles, border wars, armies, peace treaties. All of this eventually will affect how quickly your troops replenish, your money made from winning a battle, public order at home. There's all kinds of loyalty of generals. It can affect all kinds of different aspects of your campaign. So it's important to understand where you are in a war, whether you should be surrendering or whether you should be on the attack and aggressive and finish off the enemy. And that's fun. That adds a little bit more weight to your decisions and a little bit more context to your actual battles, which is something I feel like Warhammer's really gotten too far away from, especially in Warhammer, where the battles are fun. They're probably more fun than history because you have all of these incredible units, but there's never a feeling like, oh, wow, here it is up against the king, my enemy king after this long war. My people are tired of the war. If I can win, I can end it and rebuild that war fervor. There's just more going in from the campaign that carries on to the importance of battles, and I really appreciate that. Some other nice changes. So let's take Mirs, for example. I know them as Mercia at the time. This is the name of their actual kingdom here. Mercia was probably the closest ally to Wessex, and they are trading with me. And if you can see here, we go to diplomacy. Let's find there's a lot of factions in this game. It is crazy, and most of them are, I think actually all of them are already discovered, which is nice. So here's Mercia. We're trading, and if you notice,
your visit is most welcome.
There's nothing about breaking trade or starting trade. Trade has finally gone away, and I love it. If you are on semi-decent terms with your neighbors, people living in these villages and hamlets all throughout these woods are just going to start trading with neighbors. They don't care. A guy just running a farm trying to make a living doesn't care if the hamlet 2 miles from his home right here is Mercia. So trade is a natural thing that happens between people living on borders, and that we're friends. It just makes sense that trade would just be included in any kind of decree that we would make together anyway, any kind of pact. So I really like that. I don't have to go through and try to convince someone to trade with me, and for some reason the AI doesn't want to trade with you even though it's purely mutually beneficial. That's gone. You auto trade anyone that you either have a border with, or if your ports are able to connect to their ports along these trade lines, your trade is good to go, and I really, really, really appreciate that a lot. Perhaps the other really positive change on the campaign map that I've noticed, not really the map, I suppose, is the political situation. It's simple. It's not that deep. We're not talking Crusader Kings here, guys. But that said, that doesn't mean it's bad. Now, what's really great is if I go to faction, and I go to governors and estates, every time you capture a new province, you get an estate. As you can see, these are indicated by the little scrolls, the unfolding scrolls here. These estates belong to the various nobles, the jarls across my land. As Alfred, I own 3 estates, and I have given these estates out to my nobles, which helps secure their loyalty, makes them feel important and involved and noble, right? I mean, that's what they are. Now, if I were to just go on a campaign here, I'm currently at war with East Anglia right now, who basically drew me into a war by attacking my ally, not even my ally, but my bitches, as they are called. I'm kidding. I don't think that's the official term. It's vassal. So they attacked my vassal down here, and I think they attacked them way down here. So I had my 2 armies. I moved them in. They moved up. The AI seems to be much better, at least on the campaign map. Actually, and in battles too. We'll get to that. The AI is fantastic in the sense they're a little more aggressive now. My little vassal here, once I marched up on the borders and took out King Guthrum, I killed him on this field here. They just went ham, and they took this whole thing, and they went and sieged London for me. So they took London, and they took Tilburg, and so that allowed me to move north and start conquering them. So this war is not going well for East Anglia at all. Though there's a nice big army here, so maybe we'll get in a fight with them. Alfred is right here, so we're gonna get into a nice little fight with them. But it's nice. The AI has really managed to actually do something. They're not just static and just sit around and do nothing. So yeah, I get those estates and I give them to my nobles. That increases their loyalty. And those nobles are actually making effects. As you can see, if you click on Sippenham here, or Kippenham, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Alfric here, you can see Alfric is the governor. However, he's not here because I don't want him as a general, and I don't want to pay to have a general's unit just chilling. So I get the benefits of having a governor, and here's his page, and every few turns you get to upgrade them still as they do their thing. So the ones who aren't generals I've just been kind of pushing. But you can make them a general. I could raise an army and select Elthric or Edwig or Riesk or whoever's in the area. And so that also lends a little bit more context to the fight, as these generals or governors that I build up can suddenly be thrust into a battle if I want to need them to raise an army. So it's fun. It's a nice, good way to get some immersion going, which I think has been lacking in Total War for a little while. Oh, what else? What else? Research is really interesting. Okay, so I'm still kind of figuring out how to unlock these research. It's not as simple as build a building unlocks research. There are actually sort of achievements that you need to acquire. So some of them are actually straight up build or upgrade within the granary or souterrain chains. So you need to build different things, but also if the military is what I was thinking about as far as achievements goes, recruit 10 cavalry units, recruit 10 sword or axe units, recruit 10 spearmen, recruit 10 bow. As you can kind of see how that's going, win 5 siege battles. So these are really different. I've never seen that before, where as opposed to just going for a building, we're actually trying, just within the natural evolution of playing a campaign, I'm going to improve as I unlock these things. I'm still very early in. I'm only a few turns in, about a little over an hour. But this is a nice change. It's a cool way to help guide me and make sure I'm building balanced armies. I also think that it helps the AI build balanced armies. So far, I haven't seen an army with all archers or with all cav or with all spear. They seem to be relatively balanced so far, which, again, appreciated. It's really irritating when the armies for the AI just build all 1 or 2 units and they just spam the same units. It doesn't make any sense. So what else? There's so much so far that I've noticed that's different. That's really fun. I mean, as far as the art direction goes and things like that, so getting away from gameplay, I think the game is beautiful. It runs way better than Attila. It runs as smooth as fucking butter. And just Creative Assembly, thank you. And Sega, actually, I guess I'll give Sega a little bit of the credit too, because Sega's usually the one who pushes this shit out of the door before it's ready to go. This has not been rushed. Over an hour in, I have had no crashes. I've had no frame rate stutters. I have had no kind of glitches or anything so far. So happy to report that to you guys if you're watching and you're I don't know if I want to get it or not. So what are some negatives? Some negatives so far are some of those cool ideas and changes they've made. Something like trade. They didn't tell me that trade was happening. I only knew that because I was watching some videos up to the launch. A lot of information, it's not that clear. A lot of this stuff is buried down in here. Here's trade. See, I wouldn't have known. Trade is all the way in. Look at this. You got to go to your economy, then you got to go over to trade, and then you got to look. You go look and see what, like, trade value for all of these different items that you have. It's just like a lot of this stuff is kind of buried in here. Even something as vital, and I mean vital, as governors and states. You got to go into your faction tab, go into your governors states tab, go to governors and states tab. It's like, it's too much. Then you got to go over here and go to estates. It's really, 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 like, stuff is just too deep into these menus, which is a problem for me. And there's some things, even like these research for the Civic. Okay, build or upgrade within the granary or soldering chains. All right, how do I do that? Where I don't see any granary in here. All these, I can't destroy these to change them, I don't think. These are all farms. This is already built. This is already built. So how do I... Okay, so here's this. So can I build a granary, right? So here's grain pits. That's the first one you need to do. But this is the first time. Here's Sirbernan. This is the first time I've even seen undeveloped land in this game. And I'm several turns in. So it's just like one of those things where... I don't know. I just feel like some of the really vital information isn't as upfront or as obvious as it should be right in the beginning. So I know, oh, we're trading already. Oh, okay. Oh, grain pits are... I can't build them until I have undeveloped land. Okay, well, if I finally have undeveloped land. So those are some things to consider. How much else is there? We're going to touch on battles, of course. I need to get some more battles going to get some footage.
We can't.
Here is a Viking army. These crazy bastards. So you get warnings every now and then that a Viking fleet has been spotted. And they tell you where they're going to land. And I've got this soft underbelly for them to come in and just take me out. Because I have no defense down here. I'm up in a war in East Anglia. So I love the stress of having to stretch myself out and defend myself from Viking raids. I haven't been attacked by Vikings yet, but that's just a matter of time. So I can't wait to see how that goes. But right now, good old Guthrum over here, who's now dead, decided to start a war with me. Guthrum is a Dane, a Viking, who was defeated by Alfred at the Battle of Ethandun, which is over here somewhere. Ethandun, here it is. So there was a great battle out in these fields, and Guthrum's army was defeated. Guthrum surrendered, and eventually he would become a Christian, or say he became a Christian, and be king here. The problem is he didn't do anything about the Viking raids coming in to Mercia and some of our other allied estates. He didn't really seem to care too much about those, so we weren't too happy with him. Our relationship kind of broke down, and he decided he was going to draw me into a war, but he was not prepared. He died in vain, and now we're just chipping away at his armies here. So I'm doing pretty well. I just need to be careful because gotta watch out for those Vikings. I believe that's pretty much it for now. I am working on a review for this game. We will have an official Total War Thrones of Britannia review up. That's gonna be a little while because I want to really jump into this, play a few different campaigns up to a certain point. I'd like to see an entire campaign, probably this one. So it will take some time, but it's definitely something I'm working on, and I want to give this an actual score with a proper review on our channel. So keep an eye out for that. Let's talk about battles. All right, everybody. So here's battle. This is the battle that I did. This is our fight against Guthrum earlier. This was his army that I had trapped in southeast England, just south of London, which eventually, of course, would fall. It would die. Guthrum dies here. I'm giving you some spoilers. But it's a fight that is pretty interesting. It does look a lot like Attila. I'm going to lay it out here for those of you who are a little worried about that. Yes, there is some Attila DNA here, undeniably. Very Charlemagne. I mean, very similar. All their faces are the same. Look at these Ron Swansons right here. That's Ron Swanson. If anyone tells me this is not Ron Swanson, so we're already going to win because we have like 7 Ron Swansons in this spear unit. But now, outside of it being similar to Attila, guess what Attila had, and guess what this has? Beautiful detail. My God, I need to, I should probably turn the speed of the camera down, but we'll do that again. This is not a Let's Play, so I'm going to do a Let's Play, actually, so I'll remember that. Yeah, so here's some axemen, but just the detail in the clothing and weapons. Shields have gorgeous detail with, like, dents and cracks and all this. The paint is curdling, and man, it's just so pretty. These are my mailed warriors, my best troops here. These are the kings, basically like the king's companions, if you will. So I put my heavy hitters, my heavy troops right in the center. The king always fights up front in this time. That's how I see it. With the supporting, I've got a supporting sword unit here, and supporting axe units in the back, archers, and way the hell over here. I've got cavalry here on my flank. I've got cavalry hidden over here. I'm going to get them moved over there. Oh wait, let's play it. And then, of course, it has the controls.
Understood. Hurry it up.
Of Warhammer, so you can now move your units up with the control. I think you could do that in Attila too, actually, but you couldn't do it in older ones. As usual, fantastic sound design. And this game is it's just gorgeous. It just really is. It's so pretty. Some dust effects there. Some mods will upgrade that at some point, I'm sure. Sorry about that really fast-moving camera. I apologize for that.
We will prevail.
All right, they're still not doing too much. They've got only had the one cavalry unit, so I'm gonna leave these guys on the outside here. I'm gonna move them over soon, but not quite yet. I'm gonna wait here. Let's go ahead and fast forward this and see what they do here. And as you can see, I chose to play the battle as opposed to replay the battle. Alright, we're about to enter their archer's range.
Making ready.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unselect the archers.
Enemies beware.
I'm going to move this unit right up there.
It will happen. Run, warriors. Don't hold back. Pound
So they stop a little earlier and can start firing. Let's get these guys up on the flank. Let's get these guys moving over the right side here. Because those archers are going to start shooting at us. So let's see. They're going to shift, it looks like, a little bit. Oh, they're not shifting too much. Let's go ahead and fire at these guys over here. And there we go. There's some fighting in here. Let's protect this flank.
Our general is under attack. Victory!
So there's kind of this very similar AI issues in this game, just as far as, you know, they kind of attack in clumps and stuff like that. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. All right, let's get these cavalry down here. We're gonna do it. We're gonna in here, and this is great. They added this, the animation now, where just like would really happen, the horses charge in, and then they're all going to run through. They want to keep up their momentum, and then they stop and swirl back in. And I really like that. That makes the sort of the limp-ass charges, cav charges in Attila a little bit better, a little bit more justified, as it is pretty realistic. All right, let's have them shoot at these bowmen here, see if we can get them to go down. Let's go ahead and move these guys to the flank. Right. So far, so good.
Ready for war. Attack!
Right into their backs. Go. There we go. And then what I think I'll do is I'll come up here. I'll support them with that.
Archers!
Move the archers up into the woods here. So actually, you know what? Look at that. Let's have them all shoot into this big blob back here. I'm going to send my cavalry after these archers to kill them off for good, and then we can start getting some rear charges. And then have them enter this fray. There we go. charges here. Still not the best charges. Still an issue. Still an issue. Especially with Warhammer being as good as it looks now with charges. That's one thing to consider. If you're only in it for cav charges, don't come here. All right, we have completely overridden their flank here. So let's go ahead and get them in here. And you can start to see now they're just completely outflanked. Let's go ahead and get the cavalry charge into the rear. Even though it's spears, they're just not ready for it anyways, so should be okay. They might even break them. Boom, right into their backs. We'll wait for the second unit to get in here, get a nice charge on them, and then we'll pull them out of there. So
the battle is turning in our favor. Get them.
All right, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and tell my archers to hold off now. Just to halt what they're doing here.
Horsemen, attack!
Let's get a rear charge in here. They are eating up my enemies. Oh, Guthrum has died.
Battle awaits us. Quick march! See, they flee before our might. Hit hard. Axemen. Cavalry.
We got to get guys on this. This enemy unit of companions is still really tough to break, so we got to break them as quickly as possible. There they go. Now they're breaking. Now that they realize the whole army's on them. Okay, so I mean a pretty easy victory. This is a very early game. I outnumbered them by several units, so it wasn't crazy. Turned out a little differently with mine since I actually did the play instead of replay. So still, so yeah. So let's be honest here. Battle. It looks fantastic. This game is beautiful. I love the attention to detail. I love the era personally, so that's a big bonus for me. So if you don't have a connection to this era, I get that. If it's not your thing, understood. If you are not the biggest fan, let's wing them out here. If you're not the biggest fan of the campaign itself, and you like the campaign, but you're really in it for the battles, right at this point, I can't necessarily recommend it. The battles are still fun. They look great, as you can see. I mean, we just saw this fight, but they aren't all that different. There have been some changes. The cavalry charges, I think, are a little better because of the way that they continue to run and loop around, which is realistic. The formations, you can see when they're marching, they hold their shields up in a shield wall, which is very accurate at the time. So it does change up a little bit. I still feel like the fights end a little too quickly. The battles should drag on a little longer, I think. But outside of that, I've had a fun time with the fights so far. And I think you will too if you really like Total War fights. So we'll see. If you're not 100%, stick with it. I'll have a review out. Other reviews are already out, so you can go make that decision for yourself without me. But I mean, at this point, if I knew someone who played Total War very well, like Tim, I'd say, hey man, if you're in the mood for a historical title, I'd recommend it. I'd totally recommend it at this point because of the changes to the campaign, though. I wouldn't recommend it for anything really changing in the battle. The battles are pretty much the same. So keep that in mind as to where your preferences are, what means more to you. The campaign has definitely had some added things. Not all of it is super available information, but once you do get a hang of the campaign, it's pretty awesome. So I hope to see you guys soon. Stay around for Total War Fridays. I know we've missed a few Fridays. We're still playing our campaign. Tim and I are still playing our campaign in Warhammer. So stay tuned for that. Stick around. I think I'm going to start a Let's Play with this as well, so we can alternate a little bit and keep it fresh. and keep your eye out for a Saxon Let's Play, a Wessex Let's Play coming at you at some point here in the near future. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Later!